silence as a note. Absent, Moshe Barlow. Muhammad left.
He's there.
No, I know, he left though. He had an appointment or something. Dale Baskerville.
Yeah.
What's your job goal? Commercial food science technician. 3 out of 4. Good. And present. Hooray. Darlene Brown. Job goal.
Medical building code.
Yep. Good. Glad to see ya. Robin Brown. Nope. That's a silence. So Robin Brown and Marsha Barlow. Robert Bryant is not here. No, he's dressing. Ella Burns. Man, I hear a lot of quiet today. Vakashana English says.
Really?
Thank God she's not here. I mean, hey! How you doing, Ms. V? Your job goal is still administrative assistant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So definitely here. Gusto. Arlene Goodman. No. Okay. So Arlene Goodman. There's a lot of Johnny Come Latelys. Gloria Gray. Welcome back. All right. And if, according to my notes, you are still administrative support worker, right? Is your job goal?
Yes.
Good. Romeo Guevara. Absent. Herder Jones.
Yeah,
Good man. What's your job goal?
civilian officer.
Alrighty. That is correct. Timothy McIntyre.
Yeah.
What's your job goal, buddy?
Customer service in the healthcare field.
Yeah, that sounds right. Okay. Juanita Mitchell. You're here? You sure? Alright, what's your job goal? Customer service. We got a lot of customer service people. That's good. Andrea Perry.
Yes,
Oh, glad to hear your voice again.
yes.
What's your job goal?
Airline reservations.
Ready? Jeffrey Wakefield.
All day long.
Every day. So, what's your job goal, buddy?
Customer service representative, the best one that ever was.
Indeed. I love a bit of ego in a student. Sheila Washington. Man. So, Sheila Washington as well. Lisa K. Williams. Here in glad of it.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll settle for that. What's your job goal?
My job goal is customer service.
Good. Melissa Wozniak, late of my writing class. Excellent. What's your job goal?
Travel agent.
Excellent. We've got 2 travel agents in here, actually. Lakeisha Young.
Medical records clerk.
Good. And that's the lot. We are missing how many people?
A lot.
2, 4, 6, 7. 8 if you count Muhammad. Guys, first day. Alright, so that's easy. That's familiar. Everyone knows how to do that. However, before I get started into my whole shtick and spiel, Miss Marie Palladino, whom I'm sure most of you know, has a couple announcements to make. So, cock your ears and train your eyes upon her. You keep quiet. Andrea Perry, no, she's not here. She's not on the list.
Okay. So I just want to inform you of a few things. Okay, number 1. Just want to talk about, like, as you can see, we have 7 people here who have not shown up for class. So therefore, you know that's a makeup. And makeups, most of them are 3 hours long. Now, what's going to happen, I just want to give you a heads up, is what's going to happen is Charlie or Ray will be giving you a slip, okay, if you do have a makeup, and there'll be information on that slip, and when you come in for your makeup, 2 things. Please remember, when you're here for makeup, when you sign in the logbook, you need to check off where it says makeup, there's practice, volunteers, so whatever it is you're here for, in addition to class time, or even if you don't have a class, please make sure you check off the correct category. Then your instructor will give you a slip, okay? And then when you come in for that makeup, you're to make sure Louise gets that slip. Okay? So I just want to give her, that's something that's been added. We just want to talk about the hotline because we know that we're heading for a snowstorm. And a lot of people have been calling us. And so Louise asked me to please remind everybody that by 6:15 a.m., when we're aware of inclement weather, please call the hotline. Now, does everybody know what the hotline number is? Or if you don't know it offhand, I'm not expecting you to, but do you know where you keep that, maintain that information? By 6:15, okay, if the message doesn't say that we're closed or we're opening later, we are opened. Okay, so she asked me to please remind everybody about that.
I'm sorry. So you can open on the day where it's the morning class. If you open later, you still come in?
Yes, if we open later, sure. And that announcement will be on the message, not on the hotline.
Excuse me. What's the number for the hotline?
484 823 0197.
Oh, yeah, you had the 215 in front of it, right?
No, 484.
Okay.
And it's 484. Okay?
Is there any extension?
No, it's a direct line. There'll be a message on there. Okay. All right, so that's as a reminder. Okay.
I do, but I don't want it to be home because I got to put the headphones.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there's just a couple other things so we can move on. We'd just like to talk about one thing. I'm not sure if there's been any discussion about this, but as you know, people with disabilities, there are hidden disabilities, there are visible disabilities. One of the hidden disabilities is like if people have maybe perhaps asthma, along those lines. Okay, please know that if you're wearing a perfume, any kind of cologne or fragrance, that it will set off, okay, somebody's asthma. So we're asking that everybody please be very considerate about that and keep that in mind, about, keeping it very minimal or not at all for when you come into the academy. Okay? Last two things. Right out here in the hallway, I'm sure many of you have noticed this. We have some bins laying there, right down the hallway there against the wall. Those bins are strictly for recyclable items. We come by there every day and we find trash, we find food, and so please, that's not where you throw away trash. These are recyclable bins for like your bottles, like beverages, soda, whatever it is, plastic. So please make sure that's where the only thing that goes in those recyclable baskets, bins. And the last thing is, may Charlie and Wade have 2 volunteers that 5 minutes before the end of the class disinfected. I knew you were raising. I knew it. Okay, so Jeffrey's one. 5 minutes before class ends, 2 volunteers will come around. 2. Yeah. So Jeffrey is one. Can I have another one, please? Sheila. So Jeffrey and Sheila are the ones who will be 5 minutes, hand out disinfectants. And remember, guys, that there's a separate disinfectant wipe for your furniture. Please. Okay. All right, guys, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
When we go on break, can you put these in your boxes?
Okay, that's where we are.
What? Yeah, I know. That's it. Alrighty. Remember stick ups. Hi guys. How y'all doing?
Okay.
Good, good.
Big food up.
Well, it's the way to learn. Can you tell this is going to be my favorite part of the class because I get to use a stick?
Charlie, you still don't have them reindeers down there.
Not yet, not yet. Alright guys, so before I go into a bit of background for reading class, like why you're taking a reading class, there are one or two announcements I feel incumbent upon myself to inform you of. Who's a fan of the color pink, for starters? Okay, good, because you might be seeing a lot of these if you don't show up. Anyone here want to make a guess about what these are? Yes, they are pink slips. Hold tight to that trait. Give me an answer that's accurate, but also completely useless is valuable. No. So, you'll see that we're missing quite a few people today. And those people, for example, Robin, Robert, Arlene, will receive one of these, plus a phone call and an email in their inboxes up front. These are makeup slips, guys. It says what class you missed, your name, hopefully, and the date you missed it. This is our way of making sure that, well, it's our way of keeping you and us honest, largely speaking. If you see one of these in your inbox, you're more likely to say, well, I should get that out of the way, as opposed to, your voice box is full. Please delete it so you can get new messages, which just makes us want to give up and or go like this repeatedly. Okay? So this is a redundancy. We love redundancies. We covered that in intro, which some of you have had me and Marie for. So yeah, try not to be late, but if you are late, know we've got you covered. What else? Also, my lovely bearded assistant Wade will be passing these out. Two to start with, I think. We're going to be using a new program for most of you this semester called Ace Reader. Anyone here used that before? Raise your hand. Nobody, huh? We have a special accommodation for you. We'll get into that in a bit. Okay, so Ace Reader has a rather interesting history, and what we're passing around is a way for you to keep track of your progress. When you were little, did anyone here use notches on the door jamb to measure how high they were growing? My dad did that with a hatchet once and gave me a very close shave. I had an interesting childhood. But this is the figurative equivalent of notches on the doorway, seeing how fast you grow in comprehension and reading speed. Interestingly enough, Ace Reader was originally used as a speed reading program. What it does is it flashes, in the modes we're using, which is forced speed mode, it flashes one word at a time up on the screen, and then keeps doing that at a certain rate depending on your level. The idea is you have to focus on each word and can't use the time-honored technique of just staring at a blank page, or staring at a page and letting the sentence focus out. This forces you to pay attention. There's a little quiz at the end of it, asking you about the content of what you just read to make sure you're paying attention. That's how we track your comprehension and reading speed. And everything is monitored, so we know how well you're doing. So if you ask us on any given day, am I improving, staying the same, God forbid, declining a little, we can tell you because we're tracking everything that you're doing in this program. It's creepy in a good way, I like to think. Anyway, so these sheets are going to be quite useful. You're not going to use them quite yet, but we always have extra copies. And if you're feeling diligent around break time, you can make some copies yourself. You are heartily encouraged. Who here's been in keyboarding class with me?
Oh, good.
Oh yeah. Remember those typing drills? Remember how every time you come in and you're not doing classwork, you should be doing at least some practice typing? I would like to extend that basic philosophy to reading, because reading is, I would argue, much more difficult than typing. Typing is just muscle memory. Reading is a whole bunch of disparate functions linked into one thing You have to read the word, understand what the word means, then understand what the word means in context. It's a whole lot harder than it looks, like anything worth doing. Okay? So if you come in, do some typing, do some ACE Reader, even one drill, on the random Friday you come in, helps, because it means it hasn't fully gone from your brain. Anyway, that's my little sermon on ACE Reader, and I'm sure you'll hear more of it as we go on in class. But our esteemed leader, Janet Fiore, has a personal interest in this class, not surprisingly. The ability to comprehend and express yourself is quite valuable. If you're answering a wanted ad, you want to be able to know exactly what they're looking for, and you want to be able to make yourself understood. So she has helpfully compiled a slideshow that I'm going to pull up at the beginning of every class. I'm going to go through the basic tenets of the slideshow. If anyone wants a copy, I can forward it to you. We done, Wakefield? Oh, glasses, yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to review these basic points with you. I'll take some questions, then we'll move on. However, I feel obligated to let you know there will be a field trip today just after break. Yeah? Okay, all right. Come on. Okay, all right.
Where?
To the library.
V, you ruined my guessing game.
It's
Yes,
snowing.
field trip to the... It's not snowing yet.
Yes, it is.
Okay, is it a blizzard?
Yeah.
Until it's up to my knees, it doesn't count. Now then, it's around the corner. It's literally out around the block. Anyway, point is, we'll be going there after break. It's going to be fine. All right?
I would like to know which night. One on 9 and 1 night?
No, 7th one.
Well, I don't have one.
It's okay. We'll get you a library card if you don't have one.
Because my membership is the month of one.
Okay, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out when we're there. Anyway, we'll go into the details of that later. Right now I'm going to cover this, and then we shall take your questions, then do some ACE Reader. Sound good to everyone? I heard that. Everyone here's logged in, right? I mean, it did take, an ice age and a half to get through, but... Wait, so who hasn't gotten in yet? Romeo and Gloria? Gloria, are you logged in? Okay, cool. Just checking. Sorry, I saw your black screen. Oh yeah, I know. Sheila, I explained this to the class before you came in, but these are new computers, and because it's the first time it's seeing you this semester, it's taking a long time, approximately 15 minutes. After this, though, it won't take that long. Otherwise, there'd be no point in upgrading. All right, guys, can I have your eyes, ears, and or various hair follicles? Okay, so everyone here can read, right? There's little point in you being here unless you can read. But reading and understanding are very, very different beasts. Learning is one thing. Like, everyone here can read the word, dog, wolf, moon, whatever, and understand what it means and the connotations associated with it, right? However, the key ability for reading is using words you know and applying them to new contexts. Does everyone understand what context is? Okay. Yeah, whole big picture, as Mr. Wakefield showed with his expansive little gesture. Okay, and applying familiar ideas to new contexts and concepts is a key part of learning and a part of what you're doing with these reading drills. Believe it or not, people like myself, since I have no life, do read for fun, but many successful, happy people read for fun that aren't me. And hopefully, by the end of this class, we will at least convince you to occasionally, if the TV's broken, your internet router is down, and the cat is currently asleep, that reading a book might be a good idea. If you'll pardon my rather pithy rendition of that. There is something relaxing about it, or at least can be, with the proper amount of understanding. Who here watches TV shows they've seen before? Who here watches reruns? Oh my goodness is right. Reading an old book can provoke the same sort of relaxing response. Like if you've read it, once or twice before, or something from your childhood. Who here still has storybooks from when they were little? Oh, come on, I know I'm not the only one in this room. I don't know. I didn't know that. So if you read those old storybooks or you hear something familiar, it produces a sort of relaxing sensation because it's familiar. You don't watch Seinfeld or All in the Family or Family Guy because they're new and interesting. You watch them because they're old and familiar, and the old and familiar relaxes you. Reading can do that too, at least in the basic concept of it. Okay? So everyone with me so far? I'm really trying to sell reading. It's kind of in the job description as the reading teacher, so I want to at least make you excited about it, if not particularly enthusiastic the first day. It's gray, there's a snowstorm. I understand a degree of apathy. Vocabulary building. I will admit something here. It has no bearing on this, but I will admit it anyway because I'm the teacher and I get to do this. I hated to read growing up. And it was like, anyone here ever get a tooth pulled? Oh yeah, it's like that, except for worse when I was little. One of the ways that I built my vocabulary was trading cards and children's books and listening to audiobooks a lot. I have this thing where I can't go to sleep unless there's a voice in the background. So I pick up new vocabulary by being exposed to it constantly and trying to figure out the context. To this day, I have the first half of Treasure Island memorized because from ages 7 to like 11, that's all I listened to when I was going to sleep on my tape recorder. So building vocabulary isn't about knowing what the word means instantly. It's part figuring out what it means in context. Like a fancy word for talk around, like his speech was filled with circumlocutions. He never directly stated his idea. You can figure out with some time, if you saw that written down, that circumlocutions means to talk around something. Right? You guys are sharp. Very good. I knew you were sharp, especially her. Sorry, I like picking on you, her. Hey man, come on in, sit down. We're just going through a little spiel. I'm boring the eye sockets out of everyone, and it's immensely entertaining for me. Knowledge building, again, repeated exposure to novel materials or new material or old materials helps your understanding whether you know it or not. Who here does puzzles, word games, chess, backgammon? So you're all familiar with the concept of pattern recognition? Okay, pattern recognition is where your brain says, I've seen something like this, not exactly like this, but similar, and here's how I solved the problem that time. Like when you're solving a puzzle, you always find the corners, right? That's a basic part of puzzle solving. In books, or in articles, or in magazines, when you see a structure similar to what you've seen before, your brain, not always with your consent or knowledge, starts to pick it apart because it's similar to what you've seen before. And that's why reading can be addictive.
Like cryptogram.
Yes, exactly like cryptogram. You guys won't believe me. I get the impression that most of you, like myself a short time ago, view reading as more of a chore than a pleasure, but it's in part this pattern recognition and the deviation, that is the going away from a pattern, that makes reading very addictive. It's people like new things, and reading presents something new combined with the familiar when done properly. So that's another part of this class. We're going to be reading articles. You guys get to debate on it. It's going to be fun. Lastly, and most technically, who here's had my writing class? Come on, who here's had my... I know you have. You have not had my writing class, Herbert. No, you haven't.
All my classes
I meant before. See? My lack of defining terms let me get whacked right in the head. Okay, so in my writing class, which some of you are in this semester and some of you have been in previous semesters, proofreading is emphasized for the simple reason that if you can't make yourself understood, you're in big, big trouble. Having a bigger vocabulary, having seen words repeatedly, sort of gives you a massive leg up in terms of the proofreading department. If you read good writing, and if you read grammatically correct writing enough, you start to expect it as the norm, right? So that helps your proofreading because it helps you detect deviations from the pattern, that is misspellings, wrong words, commas every which way, because they're not what you're used to, because they're different from the norm. So increased exposure to accurate and good writing really helps your ability as a proofreader. Who here's heard the 10,000 hours hypothesis? Okay, I shouldn't use words like hypothesis when I'm chewing on something that gives me a lisp. Although it is funny. Anyway, the author of the book we're going to be handing out in a little bit, by The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. Each of you gets a different chapter, but we'll deal with that later. That's all to come. We can wait though.
I shouldn't turn off slide.
No worries, man. Can you erase Robert Bryant from the board? Good man. Anyway, so one of Malcolm Gladwell's big things, he studies statistics, human behavior, a whole bunch of other stuff like that. Sounds very boring until you read him. He says that if you do something for about 10,000 hours, you approach mastery of it. Okay? So, anyone who's played chess for about 2,000 hours or 10,000 hours, I don't know, to master the skill of tying your shoes, you had to work at it a bit, right? It didn't come easy. I mean, 2 or 3 days, but those 2 or 3 days were not exactly in. And that's a basic skill. Now, for someone who makes, tying knots for a living, I don't know, sailor or something, you have to practice it incessantly until you reach that 10,000 hour point. There aren't enough hours in our classroom to get you to the 10,000 hour point, but it is our hope that we can encourage you to read on your own and to think on your own to the point where you reach that point where it's just a part of you, and you do it without conscious effort. If you catch me 5 minutes at the end of class, I'll explain a very interesting theory one of my English professors had about reading comprehension and horsemanship, but that's not here or there. Anyway, so that's this slide mostly. If you can't proofread, you're in trouble. If you can't see your own mistakes, you're never going to learn from them. Understood? All right, any questions before I go on to the next slide? All right, so I covered this basically in the last slide. I mentioned there's a common link between reading, writing, and BBC. Fun fact, BBC is the one class I've never taught. Basic business communications. Anyway, it's quite a bit of fun from what I hear. So anyway, the common link is that all the skills you learn in one are applicable in the other two. Wow. I really should stop chewing this in class. Okay, so what you learn here, you can't or shouldn't just sort of slide off you like a skin off a snake. You understand? All the skills you learn here are going to be really helpful to you in writing class if you already haven't had it, or if you've already had it, your skills in writing class are going to help you in reading class. Because if anything, Melissa, you've spent enough time reading your compatriots and my own work to know that X, Y, and Z with the pattern recognition. You got me? So there's a bleed between these three classes.
So you're forming a pattern.
Yeah, forming a pattern. There's carryover between the three of them. And the basic idea of communicating and communicating well is really heavily stressed. I actually read an article last night on the way home that said something along the lines of language starts with imitation, but communication really started with the hands. When humans started walking upright, it freed our hands from locomotion to expression. To be a little bit more pithy, there's a saying that says, if you want to silence an Italian, you tie his hands. I don't think we have a lot of Italians in the room. That joke just kind of...
Yeah.
It's okay. So yeah, communication is tremendously important, and knowing how to do it well, knowing how to sell yourself, knowing how to sell other people. Like, who here has friends who say, wow, I really need a job, or I need this recommendation from you, you worked with me. Your ability to communicate accurately, concisely, and compellingly. Who here knows what the word compellingly means? Hyson, put your hand down. Okay, compel means, it's associated with charismatic or forcing someone to do something. Like, if I compel you to turn off your computer, that means I say, please turn off your computer. For whatever reason, you find yourself unable to resist my manly voice, which I don't have. Okay? So communication is the underlying theme, if you will, between these three classes. Yeah. Basically, you want to be able to convince people and know when other people are trying to convince you. All right? Now, a lot of what's going on in reading class takes a while to lock in. The pattern recognition is a largely subconscious thing. When it starts to become a conscious thing, that means you're making progress. Yeah, I think I've said all I really need to say on this slide. Marie, do you have anything to add? Wade? We know. Alrighty. I think there's one last slide. Yes, communication is king. I think I've already emphasized that quite sufficiently. Have I? Yeah. All right, cool. All right, so I'm actually going to turn this off for a minute, and we are going to turn on our computers. Hey, what? What?
2 times.
Yes, quite right. Indeed. All right, guys, so... All right, so go to your desktop. Can't find your mouse? Okay. Wade, would you assist the gentleman, please?